Welcome to Hers
His
and Ours, part of the Shice Podcast Network. Hello, and welcome to a Hers, His, and Ours special event as we take on the Netflix reality competition show Battle Camp, one episode at a time.
Welcome to Battle Camp.
Episode 9, Fanning the Flames.
Oh, it's getting intense.
Literally and figuratively. I like the double meanings of these.
I'm still really hopeful that the finale or the winner is not chosen by the wheel.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it's probably going to be because they've used the wheel the whole time. But then there's no strategy involved in that.
Yeah, there's only strategy on like who ends up, how you stack the deck. That's it. It's like,
Yeah, but with it being only 6 left at this point for the finale, everyone's name has to be on the wheel technically, right?
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know, but Kyle went home to start
this episode.
Yeah. So
Whined like a baby.
yeah, his conniving. I found it interesting that he said like, I knew Chase wouldn't vote for me because there's a certain level of respect. And it's like they were operating on this very weird wavelength of like, we just respect each other as competitors.
Which is also weird because if this competition is happening in a short period of time and they just got there, potentially within a few days, maybe less than a week, then why is there so much respect just because they came in at the same time? Like, it doesn't make sense that they would have such a strong alliance so quickly just because they came in at the same time, even though they were team captains for opposite teams.
Well, like you said, there's like Netflix party stuff where they might have met each other already outside of the show. I think they were both pro athletes or like semi-pro or something like that. So they have that in common. You know, they probably are very similar people for the most part.
True.
But you know, we see after Kyle gets eliminated, we saw that Chase had already sort of voted for Trey in that moment and the betrayal, whatever. But they go back to the cabin and like they talk about it. And honestly, like I understand where Chase is coming from because he straight up just doesn't like Trey.
I know, but especially being that he just got there, he doesn't have valid reasons to be that like hateful towards him and gunning for him. He's only listening to everyone else's chatter. And I understand him being like a little bit of a snake and like going against them a little bit, but literally everyone is doing that.
They act like he murdered Louis.
Exactly. That's my point. And I think that's why I'm gunning for Trey to make it to the finale so hard, because I feel like he's gotten the wrath of everyone in a very misdirected way and an overdramatic way. Or an overinflated way, and he's literally not playing the game any differently than anyone else lying to one person and voting a different way. He's actually trying to like uphold his word to different players now, and they're still all stabbing him in the back.
Yeah, and Chase like could have been honest in his assessment. Like I think what the reason was though, after we had spoken about that, was Chase didn't want to tell the team that he was going to not vote for their person. And he wasn't going to tell the team outright right there that I'm voting for Trey, right? He wasn't going to do that before they went to the vote for the wheel that sent Kyle home. So he knows that if he broke from the pack, they may vote against him right there if he made his intentions clear. But also, I think he could have just told them straight up. He could have owned it after voting, which I think he kind of did, but
no, because they all learned it when everyone else learned it. Like after all the votes were cast before the wheel ceremony, he could have told them.
Yeah, and like he has his reasons, and I think that for the most part they're semi-valid, and I just feel like his level of anger towards Trey is misplaced. Like
Agreed.
he tells him straight up, like, you can kiss my ass, like, and it's like, but like what, like where does the vitriol come from? Like I get that you don't trust him and that's fine, but I get that Trey voted against you in the previous round because he felt that, you guys didn't include him in a lot of things, which you didn't. So it's like I feel like he's like disproportionately upset at Trey, which it seems like maybe.
Everyone kind of is.
Well, I feel like he's more angry at Trey, and then when the breakfast happened the next day, you could tell like there was a lot of tension, and he says like, "I choose
Peace
peace
over
and
violence.
not violence." And I think he's
That's
just
bold.
it is. I think he's using it more of a euphemism as like, I'm just going to be quiet rather than getting into like a shouting match or anything about this here. He wasn't like, I'm going to beat Trey's ass, but I'm sure somewhere in the back of his mind, he's like, if I wanted to, I could probably kick his ass. So they get to the breakfast though. And to my point about what Chase is saying and communicating is that Trey says Chase views my actions as morally wrong. And he may not be wrong about that. And like I couldn't help but laugh because it's like, yeah, he knows what he did to Louis. Like he knows. And then Chase kind of like leaves after he says his thing and, he's off in the corner and they talk about like, oh yeah, like if someone's mom was in here, like they'd be eliminated. And you hear Chase be like, yeah, Trey already did that too. Referencing him eliminating his own mother in Squid Game. But in that case, his mom was like, go on and win the game for us.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't this backstabbing, conniving thing. But I felt like it was a funny moment that let me know that, well, Chase obviously watched Squid Game.
Right.
And he knows who Trey is.
And I think it was okay. So QT said that, like, why is he so angry? Like, they're even questioning his reaction to things because she was like, if my mom was here and I voted her out for the sake of the game, she would not be this angry at me and she would understand. And that's when he was like, well, Trey did that too.
Yes, that's what it was.
But it's like, again, you're playing a game. Like, I understand getting emotionally involved, obviously, because you're in kind of a pressure cooker with all these people. But Chase, even more so than anyone else who just got there, is way out of line in his rage against Trey.
And I think in this episode, I figured out what it is because after the breakfast and the issues and everything, we start seeing that basically everybody is sick of Trey. Lorenzo, Polly, Georgia, Nick, QT, Chase, they're all sick of him. And for different reasons, but for the most part, the reason wasn't even Louis. It still was for Chase, but for the most part, it was just like, we're sick of Trey constantly sidling up to us and like always just talking strategy and what's this and what's that. And so I think what I narrowed it down to, at least from my perspective, is like he hasn't taken any real time to be social and like real with anybody. His entire existence in the camp is only to win the game. Where, yes, everybody is there competing and they're all going to vote the person out that they like if it means that they're going to win the game. This is how it's played. He's just playing the game so openly that it bothers all of them. And it also like lets them know that he's operating on this frequency. Like he's coming up to you basically like, I really don't give a shit about any of you guys, but let's strategize. And that's like how he goes into every single conversation where you see like Nick is pretty friendly, Shuby's pretty friendly, like QT is pretty cool with everybody for the most part. Even Chase, like they said in this episode, like, I don't understand like how he gets people like right back on his side so quickly. And it's because I feel like all of their, for the most part, interactions with one another are far more genuine than when Trey is interacting with them. But
I don't feel like we're seeing that from Chase. Like, I don't feel like we've seen
Maybe
enough
not.
footage of him just being social to be genuine and try and like build relationships there.
But like think back to the episode where they grilled, right? Trey didn't do that to just socialize. He was like, I need to earn back some like social credit here, so I'm going to barbecue, right? And he was fully aware of that. Like he stated that was his plan. It wasn't like, let's just grill and hang out and chat and talk about life or what it's like to be here. It's like everything is game and strategy related, and it comes across as very disingenuous or just overly invested in the game, where it's like he's not a friend to anybody. And I think that goes back to sort of our conversation in the last episode of like him not having Gabby or Louis really just like threw him into like desperation mode of like he'll cling to whatever he can. So
I also think it's a little bit of a difference in the game strategy, because Squid Game was not about trying to be friends with anyone. It was literally
correct
survival of the fittest.
Well, the thing you described of like floaters, right?
Yes.
Like that's something that, that's it did kind of exist in Squid Game, but it was more just like stay off the radar kind of situation. And, we see Trey go into the bunk with Georgia and Lorenzo, and like they give him a makeover and they dress him sort of like cross-dressing, and they put him on the runway, and like they have some fun with him, but it's still just like, nah, he needs to go. So it's like even when he tries to ingratiate himself into these groups, like they humor him, but at the end of the day, like I don't know if they actually view it as any kind of friendship, where all these other people that are mad at him for doing what he did to Louis have friendships that they feel they wouldn't violate that. Like Chase with Kyle, like Gio and Pauly, like Georgia and Lorenzo, like those are the kind of like actual friendships where I told you, I think I don't even know if him and Louis were friends. Like they were maybe friends by circumstance, and like it was convenient when they were winning, and then as shit got worse and Bree showed up, like everything kind of went south from there. So it wasn't the best for Trey, but
I mean, Trey probably also kind of saw it as like, okay, me and Louis are chill, but with Bree in the picture now, obviously his alliance and loyalty is going to be to Bree over Trey too.
Yeah, Trey's not giving him handies in the middle of the night, So I can understand his frustration. And I understand like the style of game that he's playing too. And like you said, like he's just playing the game. He's literally trying to win the game, and everybody else is too. He hasn't done anything that's like more duplicitous or evil than anybody else, other than swinging one vote on a 50-50. Hey, if you're going to vote for me or the other guy, vote for the other guy. The other guy happens to be my so-called best friend in camp. Well, he's getting midnight handies, and all I have is this game. So vote for him and let me try to win the game.
And he still hasn't come out and told anyone that happened, because Pauly said it's between you and Louis. So what else was he going to do? Say, okay, vote me and let me go? No, like no one trying to win the game is going to do that. So I still don't see it as the level of betrayal that everyone is making it out to be.
I agree. I mean, he did a little bit of upselling of Louis as a bigger threat in that moment, which we've kind of glossed over since then, where he was like, oh no, Louis definitely like has a leadership role, and you'd be surprised like how much physically like better he is at things and how much he like puts himself into the conversations about strategy. So like he definitely upsold the vote on Louis to Pauly. So in fairness, yes, he buttered her up to get that vote to slide away from him.
But he also did that not knowing if Pauly was actually going to listen.
Correct. And I just feel like, we see Chase like, I would never vote for my friend. He's like, I didn't vote for my friend. And that's when he tells him to kiss his ass. So it's like that narrative that he voted for Louis, that one vote that he voted for him, which he didn't, versus all of the other votes that have been swung through manipulation and backsliding and secret deals and all that. And
yeah, because he never even campaigned to anyone else to vote for Louis.
That's why I think it's just his sort of like awkward social skills, is that he doesn't develop any sort of like real genuine friendships, it looks like. And that's hurting him in a game where the pair bonding is important.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care if he wins necessarily, but I really do want to see him in the finale.
Yeah, me too.
Because I still think he's been unevenly targeted, and
it won't get easier if he survives the wheel this time.
It won't get easier, but we don't know how the finale is going to go, right? Because they're only going to do one more challenge. So how is there still voting? Is it still up to the wheel? We don't know yet. But I still would like to see him in the finale because I think, again, he is actually playing the game or trying to play the game. And yes, the social is part of it, but it's not a social game either. And none of these games really are, these competitions. If it was like, hey, you're going to win if you get to the end with one person, with like a partner, like Love Island, right? Like the goal is to end up coupled. This is not that kind of a game show. So I don't know. I feel a little not defensive of him because, like, again, I don't really care if he's ultimately the winner, but I just feel like the way he's been targeted is unmatched compared to everyone else.
Yes, and I'm curious if it's because everybody did watch Squid Game, and so he's got like the mom killer moniker attached to him. But I was Team Trey from the beginning because he was the only person I knew besides Lorenzo. But I would say like Lorenzo's grown on me quite a lot. I would like to see Lorenzo win, maybe Shuby, maybe Georgia, and I would probably stop there. Like I don't think I want Polly or Chase or QT to win.
I agree.
So like Trey is probably still in the mix. Like if he wins, I feel like he wants it so bad. And I think that's what's irking other people is that like they can all just like smell the desperation on him. And it's like he's so desperate to win that all he does is do that. Like there's never just like chill, let's just hang out and blah blah blah, right? So
but
he's put himself in a weird spot.
Yeah, but you also can't blame him. It is a game.
I understand that.
You know?
He's trying to I mean, look, he's on the cusp of making it to the finals.
He's probably going to be cut from the double elimination, I feel, because his name is up there the most. I'm hoping not. We'll see.
The wheel does what it's supposed to do, and I don't think it's his time to go home. So I'm going to say he doesn't.
Okay.
I don't think he does.
Maybe it lands on the spin again.
I think it's going to be Shuby.
You think?
I think so. But before we get to the final part of the wheel, like this was a really cool challenge that they had in this episode because it required planning, it required execution strategy that was physical, and then it required like a mental execution portion. So kind of like I think it's not called cross country, but it's an Olympic event where you do cross country skiing. So you're basically like flat skiing. So you're just like schlepping with your arms and you're just like killing yourself. And then, it's the biathlon. And then you have to stop and target shoot with a rifle. So like your heart rate is fucking pounding and you have to like settle down and hit targets before you can go back to skiing. So it's a very like interesting combination of two different mechanisms. And in this, you have to kayak to one of three different buoys, each holding progressively more valuable items, but being further away. And I wish they would have split screen for this to sort of convey the distance that's happening, because the first buoy has a flint and metal to get your fire started, and you have to burn through this rope. And the first three people that burn through the rope are not on the wheel, and they choose the punishment. So you have, I asked you before, like, what would your strategy be? And you said go to the middle, get the matches. Turns out that was probably the best strategy, but it only worked for one of the people that did it. You also have the short distance backpack that several people went for, both via necessity and sort of circumstance. But basically, Trey and Shuby were like, we're going to go to this and like, we're just going to get the fire started with the flint. Like, we're going to have plenty of time. We'll be the first one there. Not a big deal. And Nick, he lost his oar, so he had to swim the shortest distance and get there. And then QT was she might as well have just tapped out of the competition. Like, it was so bad. She was on the water the entire time, couldn't paddle for shit, couldn't get the backpack. It was like disaster. And then we're already seeing how difficult it is to light with the flint. Like, she had zero chance by the time she got the backpack. So, Taylor should have just been like, you're not going to win. Just don't waste your energy. But Polly and Chase go to the far buoy. Lorenzo and Georgia go to the middle. And so Lorenzo and Georgia are not back first, but they're back second with a match. The fire starts right away. So as long as you can strike the match, you're basically okay. And I think it would have been Lorenzo and Georgia first and second, but her fire went out and she didn't catch it right away. So she had to start from scratch. And so Lorenzo got out to a big lead. And then we don't see how big of a lead distance wise or how much time has elapsed between them getting there and Chase and Polly out at the far buoy. But you said that you're going to see Polly pull something out of her hat, and she's a good kayaker. She was the first one out there, and she was kind of slow on the way back as well. But when her and Chase finally get there, they're last, but they have lighters. So they get their fire started right away. Super easy to build it. It's roaring, and they finish first and second, or second and third, because Lorenzo won, Chase, then Polly. So it does turn out that the lighter made a big difference in terms of time. But I think the matches would have been fine for them.
I think Georgia's mistake was she didn't build enough of the kindling pile to where when she lit the fire, like she was just focused on getting the fire lit the first time and as quickly as possible instead of making sure she had, like stacked her kindling and firewood and everything high enough so that when she lit the fire, it would hit the rope or burn the rope right away. I think if she had done that, she probably would have been second with Lorenzo.
Yeah, I felt bad for her, but I was happy, excuse me, for Lorenzo.
Yeah, me too. It was good to see him win, especially because he was like, I don't know how to start a fire. I don't even know. What is it called?
He said, I can barely even turn on a computer.
Yeah, I can barely.
What is a flint?
What is a flint? I don't even know what any of this is. So it was fun to see him be able to pull this off and kind of get to root for him. But again, Chase is a beast and they're still not paying attention to Chase being the threat.
Yeah. So Chase, Lorenzo, and Polly pick the punishment. It's like Trey
should have never had the question or the conversations with people about do you think there's any way I don't get a punishment? Just take that conversation out. You're getting a punishment.
Yeah. Or just be self-deprecating and be like, well, we know Chase is going to put me up for punishment. So
yeah,
it is what it is.
Sympathy card.
Yeah. Just own it though. The going to people. And he even tried, he talked to Lorenzo and you think you can keep me off of the board. And, what is Lorenzo supposed to say? Go fuck yourself? He's like, all right. But then we see Lorenzo, I'm so sick of this behavior from Trey. He can't, it's just always about him and it's always about strategy and it's always about just sticking around like a cockroach. And so I understand people don't like cockroaches, right?
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I get why they don't like him and I get why they want him gone. It's just, I'm really sick of the narrative about you betrayed your best friend. That is not the right reason to be gunning after Trey.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think we get a little bit more of that later. I have something in my notes that I wanted to say on that note, but I think it was just the rationale for being against Trey for some of them is weird. Because it's for some of them, it's he's just annoying. For some of them, it's he's the biggest threat. For some of them, it's he's a betrayer and he can't be trusted. So it's he's hitting a lot of tent poles that people do not want to have him stick around for, right? But he does get the punishment and they go to a rope hang. And I was I think Trey can win this if he finds the zone.
I said that too.
Yeah.
He has less body weight.
And so people that I think if you've ever gotten tattoo is a good point. Or me, when I do deep tissue massages, they're incredibly painful and I just kind of leave my body. It just all of a sudden I'm not even there. The pain is happening to somebody else kind of thing.
Babe, tell them to change the pressure. I told you.
We went once and I told her the pressure I like is about medium, a 6 or 7 out of 10. And I was I felt she was trying to massage my bones.
That's because 6
deep.
to 7 out of 10 is not medium, sweetheart.
Yeah, it is.
No, you should have said 4 or 5.
4 or 5 is low.
No, it's not. If on a scale of 1 to 10, what is in the middle to be medium? Not 6 or 7. That's pretty high on the 10 side.
Yeah, that's medium well.
No.
I want medium well, not medium rare.
No. You should have said like 4 or 5.
Yeah, whatever. My bones are fine now. But
Medium rare would be like a 1 to 2.
like, even we didn't get deep tissue massages most recently, and like my skull was still hurting for like 2 days from a knot that she tried to work out.
I mean, it's
I'm
still their job to try and release the tension.
Flower.
Oh my gosh, you are such a delicate flower.
But anyway, I was like, I feel like if Trey just like finds the zone and he can just like go Zen mode, he'll be okay. And he was. Nick wasted too much energy. Shuby really didn't have a chance. But we go from that to like pre-vote, and Trey's in the bathroom in his suit, combing his hair. He's talking to Nick, and Nick quickly like, he susses it out. And then we see like a little aside with Nick, and he's like, oh, well, I kind of want to like, I realize that they're a good pair, and like these guys have their thing going on. So if I can get my like circle game crew, and then these two, like we can coast and be in the final. So it's like, he's very aware, I think, socially of what the situation is. But I think the players that have been there since the beginning have the biggest advantage. So that'd be Trey, Shuby, QT, Lorenzo, and Georgia. Like, because they've been around the longest, they have the most information, they have the most experience, they've been able to maybe build better relationships in that time as well.
I'm not a fan that like QT is doing the same thing by playing not dirty because it's a game, but like from the betrayal side of things. Like, she's a puppet master and no one's paying attention to it. And
Avery was. But they saw the same thing in each other. And
they did. But she is exactly what I was saying before. She is the floater type. And I would not want her to win because I'm not a fan of the floater type. Because I feel like there's so much other heavy lifting going on by other game strategies, and she's just coasting.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like in poker, sometimes you're at the table and it's like, who the aggressive players are that like to throw their money around. You kind of like, especially in a tournament setup with poker, because there's going to be eliminations. Like, you kind of just don't want to get in the way of people making mistakes. It's a tennis thing too, like, because there's a lot of unforced errors as a scored thing in tennis, or at least like they track how many times you shoot yourself in the foot, because it's just like the nature of the game, and you don't want to get in the way of your opponent shooting themselves in the foot. Like, if they're willing to do it, just do it. And
I mean, I get that, because actually I did play that poker style for a while in the beginning when we were doing the tournaments at the house.
Floater for sure.
I was a float. No, I wasn't a floater. I was just playing dumb. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, and then I would win big hands. So they would think when I was bluffing. What did I do? Like, I just pretended, or I was acting like I didn't really know what I was doing. So when I had a really good hand, I would go like really big, and it would scare them to fold. And then if I didn't have a good hand, I just folded everything. So I never tried to actually bluff.
You got to bluff sometimes.
I know. I did a couple of times, but I wasn't confident in my poker face, obviously.
Yeah, you don't have a good one.
And honestly, like, I like QT personally, and I like Shuby too, but I kind of don't want to see Shuby win either.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's like tier 1 floater.
For
like,
sure.
He's floating so well that, like, if anybody is going to win on the floating strategy, I would prefer it to be Shuby,
yeah, that makes
right?
sense.
And then if anybody's going to win on, like, super aggressive game strategy, like, I would prefer it to be Trey, yes.
We should watch The Circle.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot.
Because I'm curious.
But now we know Shuby doesn't win.
I know, but they weren't all on the same season.
Okay.
So I'm curious, though, because they've talked about the circle strategy, that now I'm curious what that show really was.
Yeah. I don't necessarily want to record a whole podcast around it.
No, I don't mean to record. So that's one we can just binge without recording in between each episode.
All right. So we head into like the pre-vote moments of the show, and we see some of those conversations happening, and I'm like shocked that Chase is not public enemy number 1. And so we get into like smaller private conversations, and obviously it's basically like Trey, Chase, and Nick in that order or in some version of that order. And
Well, first we see Trey try to make an alliance and make things right with Chase.
that is kind of like, it's all happening kind of like at the same time.
All at the same time. And I was like, there's no way Chase is going to honor this.
Yeah, why did you try to make an alliance with the guy that hates you?
Yeah.
Like, he hates you.
And it's sad because Trey did honor it. Like, again, you're talking about the person that you trust the least, yet in the last 5 things we've seen him try and do, he was the most honest in those 5 things.
That's fair, because he's trying to, like, but he's got 1 foot in the grave, basically.
He does. I think he has 2, and maybe only his arms are sticking out of it.
Yeah, so he's trying to pull himself up, but he's at the point where it's like you're too far into the game now to be trusting people, especially people that openly don't like you. So yeah, he goes to Chase and he tries to cut a deal to have them both vote for Nick because they feel like, hey, I'm going to be on the wheel a lot. You're probably going to be on the wheel a lot. So let's move against this guy in a coordinated manner. So I was like, I don't know. And Chase leans in and kind of looks at me. He's like, well, I'm a very honest player. And I was like, very honest player, huh? I was like, we'll see. We'll see.
Which we already know is not true.
Yeah. And then he justifies it later by being like, well, I lied to a liar. And it's like, yes, you're doing exactly what Trey is doing. So
that's what
shut
I mean.
up.
That's what's so annoying and frustrating to me about all of them doing this with Trey is like, you're literally doing the same game strategies as him. No one is less of a snake than Trey is.
They're just more likable socially.
I don't like Chase at all, though. He bugs me.
I mean, that's fair. But we talked a little bit about strategy because I was like, Trey just finally ran out of luck and played himself. He overplayed himself right into the frying pan where like everybody's sick of his shit. But I was like, his whole strategy for this has been funky. Like ever since the whole team collapsed, like ever since Irina got them out of their rhythm and they had to axe their own teammate, like they shouldn't have done that. They should have been like, we have to figure out a way to like keep Irina or at least not vote against her and blindside her because it just made that whole team look icky. You know?
Yeah, that's true.
And like, yeah, she made a mistake and they just should have hashed it out, talked about it and figured out a way forward and kept the team together and they might have been better off. But I think for me, what I see as Trey's weakness is his unwillingness to put out his perspective like publicly, right? Because we like at breakfast when they're like arguing and like blah blah blah, it's like you know, he says that he's trying to call Chase out on his thing, but then in the post game of the challenge, you know, I told you Trey should have gotten off of that rope and stared Chase straight in the face. Like, I know you put me here and I'm not going anywhere. But instead, he goes and tries to cut a deal with him. It's like, bro, that bridge is burned. Forget about it. And like, just let the people, I get that they don't like you, but Chase just smoked everybody in the competition, right? He went to the furthest buoy, came back, lit the fire. Like, he's the biggest threat, I think, physically when it comes to the challenges.
And I think he was a bigger threat than Nick. Like,
yeah, Nick is smarter.
I think Nick is an overall bigger threat because he's got the brains.
Yeah.
But from a physical standpoint, because the final challenge has to be physical. There's no way it's not physical, right? So Chase should have absolutely been target 1 over Nick.
I mean, I agree. Like, if I were in that camp, I would be operating that way. But I think people are just sick of the antics, and they're like, I think it's in part they're sick of him being sort of ingratiating in game playing. 2, they don't trust him. But 3, I think really they know that he's going to be harder to beat because he's unpredictable, because he will sell everybody out, because he will do whatever it takes to win. They don't like that because it means he wants to win more than you do. And so it's like you want to get him out of there because he is willing to make sacrifices that you won't. And so from like a physical threat perspective, he's not the top of the food chain, but we see once again that he is he's like, I'm blindsided. It's like, well, if you didn't figure this out, I think this might be the first time I don't have my name on the wheel at all. It's like, bro,
It's
he's so
sad.
socially tone deaf.
Yeah. It's just sad. I feel like that because he's so desperate for some kind of connection, but he just obviously doesn't know how to make it. And obviously, it's just too late in the game to even try. I feel bad for him, even though he dug his grave. I feel bad for him as a person because I know he's like, I'm fine. I don't care. I'm here to win the game. I'm playing the game. I've survived the wheel 7 times now. But it's got to be eating him up a little bit.
Yeah, nobody wants to be like, oh, everybody doesn't like me. I mean, you saw what it did to Irina. You saw what it did to Avery. You saw what it did to Kyle. Like the acknowledgement that they may not be as well liked as they think. I mean, at least Trey has been like constantly finding that out. So he's got maybe a little bit thicker skin. And honestly, like if he cockroaches his way to the victory, like he's not going to give a shit. He wants to fucking win. And he's like,
Agreed.
I don't care if you think I'm a cockroach. My goal is to win $250,000. And if a cockroach wins it, then a cockroach wins it, right?
Did he win Squid Game?
No, he didn't.
Okay.
He did.
Did he get close? I can't remember.
I think he got into like kind of maybe like the Sweet 16 or the upper echelon, but he didn't win.
I'm sad that they're not going to do another one of those.
I mean, they might, but we'll see. This might rejuvenate it a little bit and get them some energy. I don't know how this show is doing ratings wise, but I also wanted to point out that the ladies' game strategy is mostly floating because they're smart enough to know that like the men are going to eliminate one another.
Each other.
Yeah, so they kind of just, you know.
I mean, I agree, but Georgia, I feel like of all the females, is pulling her weight by actually competing hard in challenges.
She is.
And I don't feel like the others have been up until this point.
Yeah, Polly only did well kayaking when
I
she
told you
absolutely
Polly was
needed
going to pull something out.
So maybe she recreationally kayaks down in the OC or something like that.
Or maybe she's just been hiding her strengths because she's trying to float under the radar.
Yeah, that's possible. QT obviously wasn't faking it on the kayaking skills because she had none. But yeah, the three of them have all sort of played a very similar type of game, just like waiting for the guys to all pick each other off. And it could be like the three of them are the final three. Like, I honestly wouldn't be surprised.
I don't think we're going to see a final 3. I think it's going to be the final 6 to a winner.
They're still not going to fight each other, though.
No, but I am curious if the final challenge and the decision of how to end the game is already decided or if they make any changes based on who the final 6 are.
Yeah. And then I guess my final question as we head into the actual wheel spin is, you know, we see who gets voted for.
The first elimination.
We do. So Trey was on the wheel the most, I think, 7 times? And then Nick was on the wheel the second most at 4 times. And Nick goes home.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, obviously he was viewed as a threat. He swung the vote, or Trey voted for him. I don't remember who the other Nick vote was. Do you? It was definitely blue team. Or former blue team.
I think it was Polly because we were surprised
Polly,
by
yes,
it.
yeah, because I thought she was going to vote for Trey, but she voted Nick. That's right, it was Polly. So he had the 2 votes plus the 2 challenge fails that got him on the wheel, and he's gone. And now Trey's on there 7 times, waiting for the wheel to spin again. And I don't think Trey's going home.
I sure hope he's not.
I don't think he is, but I don't know what that means. Like, if he survives the wheel, does he have a chance? Because, like, you're really going to have to pick a very interesting physical challenge for the final one for it to not be catered towards like a big, strong athlete or a very nimble, flexible, small person. Like, you're going to have to find something that combines all of that, like a triathlon kind of event or like a puzzle event that also requires some physical dexterity kind of thing. So it's going to be an interesting final challenge, but my question was, when the wheel is getting spun before we go to blackout for the cliffhanger, Chase has his arms around the team, and over in the corner, he's got his hand on Trey's shoulder. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? What are we really not seeing on the show? Right? Are they really way more friendly than it seems? And they just, because they edit down a 24-hour day into an hour?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you think about, that's why I'm saying, like, I wish we knew what kind of time lapse this was happening in, because let's say it is 2 weeks, to edit 2 weeks worth of footage into 10 hours is kind of crazy. We're missing a lot.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody that's like involved in the production or anybody that's actually on the show listens to this. If you do, know that I just love gossiping. And I don't get a chance to do it. Mostly this is the stuff that only exists on our couch. I was trying to look up just to see. I know, because we did have some people starting to listen. I mean, it's only a handful more than it was before, but if you know why Chase, like, you literally,
I mean, they've kind of done this.
You told him to kiss your ass. You basically have told him you hate him every step of the way that we've seen on camera. You then betrayed him in this vote and voted him onto the wheel. And then as the wheel's spinning, you got your hand on his shoulder, like,
but if you think
him.
about it, they've done this every wheel ceremony, regardless of who's like on the wheel or not.
That's what I'm saying. So I don't know how, like, because, yeah, I think it happened on a previous one where Lorenzo and Georgia had voted for Trey. And then they were all like sort of holding,
because they were all on
hands,
the red
kumbaya,
team.
Yeah. It's weird. All right, you want to go finish this?
Yes, please.
All right, we'll be back for episode 10, the finale.
Thanks for listening to Hers, His, and Ours. We'd love for you to continue on this journey with us. The easiest way to do that is to like and subscribe to the show on the podcast platform of your choice. Follow our socials at Hers, His, Ours, spelled like time, on Instagram and X. To keep tabs on this show and others in the Shice Podcast Network, follow at ShicePodNet on Instagram, Blue Sky, and X.